Hello, everyone, and welcome back. You're listening to We Know You Know, a podcast about Psych. Today, I'm one of your hosts, Matthew. I'm also here with my co host.
Hi, I'm Barb.
And today, we're going to talk about Season 3, Episode 6 of Psych. If you guys are enjoying the show, please remember to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share it with your friends. Let them know that we too are Psych lovers and come and reminisce each of the episodes every week. We also got to give a shout out to our two big groups that we're a part of, the official Psych Fanatics of Facebook group, as well as the Psych subreddit. With like almost 70,000 people in the subreddit. We got 11,000, a little over 11,000 in the Fanatics of Facebook group. Check them out. Both groups are great, especially the Fanatics of Facebook. They're moderated, all that. So they will welcome you there with open arms.
So we have some news this week. Now, I try to keep up with like what the stars of Psych are doing, and there's kind of a lot going on right now. So we have Corbin Bernsen. He is super busy. He has got 11 upcoming projects on IMDb. No stopping him. I feel like he's just like got a full roster. Sage Brocklebank, who we just have this like, I don't know, we just love him after we interviewed him. That was fun.
Yeah,
And
talking to him kind of made it a little more interesting. I get excited when I see him and things now.
Yes, yes. And
Mhm.
and I don't know, I have this thing where I just want him to be in like everything now ever since I talked to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and I want like good things for him. So anyway, he is in several things right now. He's got a couple things in production. And we're going to keep you updated about that. But you may have seen him recently in episode 3 of a show on HBO Max called Peacemaker with John Cena. So
Awesome
check
show.
that out. Yeah, if you haven't seen him on there, check that out. Also, William Shatner, who for an episode played Jules' dad on Psych, and Kurt Fuller are working together on the beginnings of a TV series called The Elevator. There's not a lot of information about it, just that them and like 2 other people are cast in it so far. So we'll see what that turns out to be. Keep your eyes open there. And this was one of the most exciting things. It looks like young Sean and Henry, so Liam James and Corbin Bernsen, are working together again on a 5-part TV miniseries called The White House Plumbers, which is about Nixon and the whole Watergate thing. And that stars Woody Harrelson and Justin Theroux. And so I thought it was kind of cool because Henry had so many, like in every episode for a long time, it was him and Liam together, working together with, all the flashbacks. And so that's kind of cool that they're doing something else together. I liked it. I was excited when I saw that. Okay, that's all the upcoming star news that I have. Matt, is there an email to read?
We do have a comment from Michael Holst again.
Okay.
And this one is for our last episode, The Greatest Adventure in the History of Basic Cable. It was actually about the beginning part where I was talking about the Ferris Bueller's Day Off, as well as The Breakfast Club, and then what movies to watch next. And
Okay.
he is urging us to definitely watch The Princess Bride. It's one of his top 3 movies.
Okay.
So it's coming, okay? As soon as me and the wife have time for another movie night, Princess Bride will be next.
I think I'm going to watch it this weekend. So I will have a report on what I thought. And okay, I know people are going to
Maybe I'll try and get it done this weekend too. Maybe I'll try.
Okay. Well, okay, people are going to be very, very surprised that me as like an 80s child, I have never seen that movie.
Mm-hmm. I am a little bit surprised because
yeah. Well, it's iconic. I mean, it's an iconic movie for sure. So that's going to be my homework this weekend is to watch Princess Bride.
This week's episode is titled There Might Be Blood. It came out on August 22nd, 2008. It's writers Steve Franks and Kel Cahoon, and it was directed by John Badham. Barb, what do you got for our writers and directors here?
Well, we already know, of course, about Steve Franks, but Kel Cahoon, this is the first time we're seeing him kind of in the forefront here a little bit. He co-produced 89 episodes of the show, but only wrote on 13 episodes. This is the first one of the 13, but there are some other good ones coming up, like Let's Do Wop It Again, which I know you really like that episode. Then also, Lassie did a bad thing, which is coming up in this season. And there are a couple of other things he wrote on, some 90s shows. Looks like he didn't really get his start writing until about 1994. He wrote on things like News Radio, Just Shoot Me, and The Larry Sanders Show. Some kind of heavy hitters there in those shows. Just Shoot Me lasted for a long time. The Larry Sanders Show, that was really big too in the 90s. And News Radio, also big. Like, they're all pretty good. Like, he had a good start, good run in the 90s there. John Badham, in terms of director of this episode, directed some recent ones that we've watched. Bounty Hunters last season, Daredevils this season, and he directed a total of 6 episodes. So we'll have more coming from him, but we've liked what he's done so far. So I have high hopes for what happens today. I will say I'm not incredibly, I don't know, I've never been a fan of Jane Lynch's acting. So I think this is probably one of those episodes that I really haven't seen for a super long time because I have kind of bypassed it because I didn't like the relationship between the two of them. So we'll see what happens today. Well, and maybe my mind will be changed.
I get what you're saying. I don't mind her as much. I actually think she does really good in some roles.
She just sounds the same in every role. She never sounds different.
I feel like there was more to this episode than just than her. I
Okay.
think other stuff happened if I remember correctly. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I
let's
just
see.
think she sounds the same no matter what role she plays ever. I've not ever seen her play anything that's been like touching or like it's all just da, 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 da. I mean, even on what is the Disney movie Wreck-It Ralph, even her role in that, she's like an animated character, still the same character. It's like
Yeah.
everything is so and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. If there's something that she was better in, please let us know cuz I just haven't found it. But she's fun on hosting the game night show that she hosts, Hollywood Game Night. That is fun. I do find that show fun, but anyway.
Well, I've got a synopsis for this week's episode before we get started.
All right.
A safety inspector is murdered on an offshore oil rig, where Chief Vic's sister is a Coast Guard commander investigating the crime. The chief and her sister fight over not only the case, but also Psych, which puts Sean in a tough position. Let's get into the episode.
All right, let's do it. Okay, wait. We start off this episode with Sean and Gus digging a big hole in the yard, which I don't really think Henry's going to be too happy about. But Sean is digging and he says Gus first asks him, "How do you know it's there?" And he says, "I can feel it in my bones." Like all the great ones. And he lists off a bunch of people like Clampett, and then he says Wesson and Crisco. So apparently they're digging for oil.
Oh gosh, oh God, I missed that completely. Wow. Wow.
Well, Clampett would be a Beverly Hillbillies reference, Matt, but you don't know what that is. So about 50 seconds in, and Henry is really not happy because he pulls up from work and sees water spouting up in the yard. Apparently they've hit a pipe. And Sean says, "How was your day?" Oh my goodness.
About 1 minute, 18 seconds in, and we are back in present day, and we're on this offshore oil rig. Terrible weather. We see the safety inspector on top of the catwalk, yelling at everybody, reminding them not to do certain things, calling out people whenever they're doing something that's unsafe. And one guy gets over in no man's land, which is like right on the edge of the oil rig. And he goes over and like pushes the guy out of the way and gets him back into like a safe area. And when he goes over there, a crane drops and kind of like the hook or like the wrecking ball style, like weighted part at the end swings down and hits him overboard. And everybody panics to go and try and save him. But presumably he's our victim for the episode.
Then around 2 minutes, 15 seconds, we see another boat out on the water, and we find out that it is the Santa Barbara Police Department boat. The chief is driving, and Sean and Gus are on the boat with her. And I guess they're on their way to investigate something, or at least look at something. Can we talk about the sunglasses for a minute? Because now they have Sean in like some regular Ray-Bans, which actually look pretty good on him.
Yeah, I think this
Kinda
is the
liking
type
them.
that he goes with. I'm glad he finally got rid of those ones from that the babysitting episode.
Yeah. The
Ugh.
I don't love the ones Gus is wearing, though. They're, like, wire rimmed and, like, sort of curved. I don't know, something about the I don't love those. But yay for Sean for finally putting some Ray-Bans on. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
A gang war between mermaid and shark people.
Okay, so some case details that the chief has given us. So a safety inspector, Hicks, fell overboard off of the offshore oil rig, and his body washed ashore. So the chief is heading out to the oil rig, which is the Bamford number 7. Gus thinks that this sounds like an accident, which it kind of does, but the chief has some information. They received a tip a week ago from a payphone on the pier. It says that something dangerous was going on board, and that they were risking everything to get that information out there. So the chief has information that contradicts what the Coast Guard is saying, and they're wanting to rule it as an accident. And Sean thinks it's odd that the chief has not brought Lassie and Jules out, and she hasn't shared this information with the Coast Guard.
And for whatever reason, she has trust issues with the Coast Guard.
Around 4 minutes and 20 seconds before they make it out to the oil rig, the Coast Guard is on their tail and pulls them over out on the boat.
Okay, so when they get pulled over by the Coast Guard ship, the commander comes onto the Santa Barbara Police Department boat. And she starts yelling at them that, they're not in the right, they're in her jurisdiction. They have no right to be there. And the chief is like, one corner of that boat is inside the 3 miles, and that makes it my jurisdiction. And then they just start bickering. She's like, Sean says we had an anonymous tip.
And he tries to cut in and politely resolve the situation.
Yeah, he says there was an anonymous tip, and she says, the commander then says, oh, you weren't going to share with me?
I love especially Kirsten in this, the chief.
Yeah.
I think she does a fantastic job with her sister anger.
So I can tell you personally, and you've witnessed it before.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
That I have an older sister, and even though we're 5 years apart is a big difference. I don't know how old these two are or how far apart these two were in age or like their characters, but
we know that Chief Vic is the younger one.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, from later in the episode, I remember that detail. She's like, I'm younger.
Clearly. And I feel that because I'm the younger sister too. And I have fought to the point, we knocked a microwave on the floor one time fighting.
I mean, that was when you were kids, but every time we do an escape room as like a family thing here, you guys go at it too over who's right about stuff.
We're a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
A little bit. Anyway, but there's love there. There's love there.
Underneath all the rage and anger and
underneath the
aggression.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say aggression. Just
next time we do an escape room, we'll make a video. Let's see. Yeah.
Let's just say I really understand what's happening.
When one of you has the puzzle in the hand and the other person wants to see it, it gets pretty aggressive.
Well, your mom never wants to let anyone else look at anything. She has to grab it from She's always grabbing.
But
I love her. Wendy, I love you because I know you're going to listen to this, and I do love you. 6 minutes, 15 seconds. The theme song has played. We are at the police station, and the commander is in the chief's office with her.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to figure out the jurisdiction situation.
Right. And we see that Lassie calls her sister alluring.
Wow. I forgot about this element of this episode.
So did I, but it makes sense because she's, Coast Guard and very
she's someone in power in a military thing. Yeah.
Right. So she has that sort of same mentality as Lassie in terms of everything's by the book. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Juliet comes over to the group because everybody's kind of standing outside the chief's office watching them bicker. And Juliet comes over with Commander Barbara Dunlap's resume. She is very accomplished, especially for her age. And Lassiter is quite taken with it. I mean, everybody else is impressed, but Lassiter is taken. Impressive and intoxicating.
All that
power in one woman. They're still fighting over jurisdiction. Both of them are saying that, I'm gonna get over there. You're not getting near it. They're both going at it there, and the chief pulls out Psych. She's like, "Well, we have a psychic on our team who's going to let us in on information that you won't be able to figure out, essentially." But she pulls out Psych and tries to use that, and this is where it gets interesting because I think it's primarily due to them just being sisters more than rivals. The commander wants what the chief has. So the commander is like, your psychic is now my psychic. It's a weird situation for Psych. They both just pause and look at him, waiting for him to choose.
Sean doesn't know what to say. Oh, this is how I get. I feel the chief in this episode. I really do. When people say, when people think that my sister is the younger one, it makes me livid.
God. Oh,
I cannot tell you how absolutely. I understand. Chief.
7 minutes 36 seconds in, during the lull where both the sisters like look at Sean, waiting for him to decide which team he's going to be on. Lassiter takes that opportunity to step up and introduce himself to the commander. And one of the things he says is that he did not know that the chief had such a
an accomplished younger sister.
And the chief looks at him with
daggers,
seething rage. And she's like, angrily, like, she's older.
I feel her.
She's got a little bit of a crooked crazy eye here whenever she gets angry, too. The chief is killing it in this episode. Kirsten is killing it in this episode so far. Yeah. I'm really buying this. I'm curious if she has, like, her own sisters to kind of, like, think about whenever she does this.
Okay.
I just noticed, I don't know if it's completely intentional, but together they are the commander in chief. Just saying. That
was fantastic.
I didn't even recognize that before, but yeah, they totally are.
That's awesome, Matt. So at 7 minutes 49 seconds, essentially the commander she's like, Spencer, are you coming? And he says yes, but then asks to speak with the chief, because you can see that the chief is not happy that he has said yes, that they're gonna go out there with her.
Yeah, there's a bit of a look of like, what?
It's like betrayal.
Betrayal is perfect. Yeah. She feels a little bit betrayed here. She's in a battle and they just, she just lost 2 fighters on her side.
Right.
But Sean does try to smooth it out a little bit. The commander tells Psych to meet her at the ship. Sean stays by and talks, and he's like, you know what? I only wanted to do this because... And then she cuts him off, and she walks away with malice in her eyes.
At 8 minutes 23 seconds, we have a Gus don't be a, as they're walking to meet the commander. Sean says, Gus, don't be a myopic chihuahua.
That's a good one. I like that. That sounds good. I like that.
Yeah. I love this. At about 8 minutes, 48 seconds, Sean says, it's time for some research. Give me all you got about offshore rigs.
To be noted, this is as they're literally walking down the steps of the pier to the boat.
What is so great about this is that Sean knows that Gus is going to have information. Like, he's going to just know.
See, now I don't... now, for comedy, yes, we could just pretend like they know, but I feel like that this is Gus preparing for it.
Yeah, okay.
If I was about to go on an offshore oil rig, I would do a little research myself.
You're probably right, but I have a feeling that
is.
Gus probably knew a little bit about this already, because that's just Gus. He knows about random strange things. He's, he just knows. And he retains information really, really well.
So far, I'm loving this episode. Granted, we are only 9 minutes in, but still.
Right.
So the guys show up at about 9 minutes, 10 seconds. They're on the pier and they're talking to one of the Coast Guard guys. and they're asking him where the ship is, where the commander is. He pulls a note out of his hat that tells them to stay put, and literally stay put and do nothing. She literally just didn't want them to be on the Chiefs team. Now, while they're standing there trying to figure out what to do next, since they've burned their bridge with the chief and the commander wants nothing to do with them, they're still interested in the case. At the end of the pier, like heading down where they just came from, they hear somebody greet, "Have a good day, Mr. Bamford." Bamford number 7 is the name of the oil rig, so they make some connections there. And we see what presumably Mr. Bamford and his daughter, Ashley. They approach them and they ask for a ride out on the rig, and they are pretending to be oil investors, or at least that's what they initially say. Once they get on the boat, they have to kind of come clean once the daughter starts asking them questions. She does seem to be playing the role of a businesswoman. So it seems like she might be trying to take up the mantle after her father leaves, or she's one of the higher ups in the company. She's presenting herself very professionally, at least that's what it seems like. I don't remember the details. I haven't seen this one in a while. It should also be mentioned here that Mr. Bamford is a bit of a misogynist. He mentions that his daughter went to Yale, but that they didn't teach her any manners to find a husband, and she is very peeved off about it whenever he asks her to go down and to the galley and get them some drinks. Let the men talk.
What a
she
jerk.
kind of quietly is like seething over it as she exits. And to be fair, Sean does stand up for her.
Okay, we have a Gus nickname at 11 minutes 35 seconds. Chesterfield McMillan.
So far, we've hit all of our little favorite things here.
I know.
If
We
we can
just need
get
a
a
pineapple.
Lassie looks like a, we can get one of those, and we can get a pineapple. Yeah,
Or maybe you must be out of your damn mind, Sean. I'm ready for any of them.
that's true. Yeah. After his daughter leaves, he seems to know that these guys are like full of it, and whenever he questions them about it, they end up breaking and telling him that they are investigating for the police department the murder of the safety inspector, and he's actually okay with it. He actually offers to help because if he was murdered, he wants to know who murdered him. After that scene, we're at about 12 minutes in, and we're back at the police department with Juliet and Lester. They just got a case, and their victim is Dr. Christopher Renault, who is a professor who went missing.
Oh, we find out now with Lassie talking to Jules at about 12 minutes 30 seconds in that Lassie is considering asking out the commander on a date.
He's asking for Jules' opinion on it.
And she is really trying to talk him out of it because it is not a good idea to date the chief's sister.
Yeah. Around the 13-minute mark, we're back with the Sean and Gus and Mr. Bamford on base or on the oil rig. He takes him over to Hicks's safety inspector office on the oil rig. And here we also find out that apparently the last couple holes that he's punched looking for oil have not been so great. And the daughter talked him into hiring a geologist to work on the ship to try and get them on the right path. Now, while investigating in the office, Sean does notice some scuba equipment that has the pier bait shop logo on it, like the seashell, which is at least now is pointing to Hicks being the person who called in the anonymous tip from the payphone outside the dive shop.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're on there, while they're in that office snooping around, the commander comes in and catches them.
She essentially tells them she wants them to leave. But first, Sean, fakes a psychic, not really an episode, just saying that he was drawn there and he saw, the logo he sees someone in dive equipment and all of that. And that he believes that the anonymous tip was from the victim.
The safety inspector.
The safety inspector, right, the victim. And that if they just review the tapes from the camera at the shop, that they will find that out. And she's like, it doesn't matter. Either way, it was still an accident what happened. So I told you guys to do nothing. You need to go. There's a shuttle leaving in an hour. Be on it. And so they're like, they realize, look, we don't have a lot of time now. That we got to interview people. We have less than an hour to do it. And let's get to it.
The super smeller leads Gus down into the chuck wagon. Or the the mess hall. Yeah. And down there, it shows them doing like interviews, talking to everybody who's eating in there, and everybody hates him. Safety Inspector Hicks. The guys don't get much anything else useful other than everybody hated Hicks from the interviews. So they head back to the police station, and they want to catch up with Chief Vic. So the chief is not too happy with him, and Sean is going to try and sweet talk her a little bit to get in on it. Initially, the chief tells them they can kick rocks, essentially. They can just deal with it, and that the case is out of her jurisdiction, and they're not going to do anything about it. But Sean gets a little private talk with her.
And he tries to call her Karen, which is funny.
We're about 20 minutes in, and this is during Chief's private talk with Sean. Sean tells her that they're here to offer, kind of like an olive branch, and what he really wants to do is, if he can investigate the case and connect it to something on land, he can get the case back in their jurisdiction, which the chief is kind of open to. Sean kind of has a heart to heart with her at this point, where he kind of is doing a little psychotherapy a little bit. He's talking to her about, what happened between them and why they're so competitive. And the chief actually responds. She opens up a little bit, which is nice. And, she ultimately says that she kind of wishes that things were better and she would like for them to be better. They used to be good, but then I think competition got in the way. Oh, that was it. Hold on.
Hold on. Wait.
We're at about 21 minutes and 29 seconds.
Pineapple pizza!
We had pineapple pizza.
There's our pineapple sighting. As somebody who knows how to eat pizza right. Pineapple's so good on pizza. Okay. Good call, Matt. Good call, because it was only on the screen for a second.
All right, so the guys have now broken into Safety Inspector Hicks's house. He's the victim for this episode. And it's about 20 minutes, 30 seconds in.
Gus trying to break the passcode of the computer.
And he's getting very much into it the same way he does when he tries to pick locks.
But Sean figures it out just based on things that he sees in the room. Oh.
All right, so we find on Hicks' computer, after Sean breaks into it, that Hicks has been giving Bishop 77 information about all the safety violations on it, and that leads Sean to believe that Bishop 77 is the person who's been leaving the anonymous tips and emails and calls about the violations. So now they got to figure out who Bishop 77 is.
Exactly.
Gus comes in with the super smeller now.
Oh, okay. So the super smeller, he smells something. The way he is walking to find what he's smelling is killing me.
He's moving at the same pattern as his nose is smelling.
He's like, it's very
He's
funny.
bobbing up and down.
Yeah.
And he finds out that the smell is coming from inside this closet.
Don't open it. Don't open it.
When he opens it, a body falls out and he grabs him.
It's Dr. Christopher Renaud.
That's the person that Juliet and Lassiter are looking for.
It legit scared me when the door opened. I screamed. I pulled a Gus.
So after they find it, we get our little cutscene, and it comes out. We're about 24 minutes in. The guys are outside the house. They have essentially called both of the authorities, the commander and the chief.
The commander and chief. So funny.
And so they've called the commander and the chief to the house of Hicks, the dead guy. And he's essentially telling them that he's had a vision and something's in there. He's saying something in the house that concerns both of them. He slaps them.
Wait. And they both ask him, please tell me you didn't go into the house without a warrant. And he's like, what? I need a warrant? All of a sudden? He goes, I'm a diviner. It all happens here. Like he points to his head, and here in his heart, and then here. Gus's nose. I really like that part.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be ad-libbed. It had to be.
We find out after Lassie and Jules have run into the house to check on it that Renaud, the dead guy, we've confirmed. After Lassiter and Juliet have gone into the house and checked on the body, they have confirmed that Renault is the person that they've been missing, and they now have a connection not only on land. So now the chief is involved, but to both cases. So we're at around 26 minutes, and we're getting a small portion of the wrap up where Sean is explaining what he knows to the chief and the commander and Lassie and Jules. And what he's saying is that Renault has been emailing Hicks anonymously about the safety issues on board, and for some reason Hicks is not doing anything about it. And he actually ends up coming to him and talking to him in person to figure out why he's not reporting any of these things properly. And Hicks ends up killing Renault, just smashes him with a hammer. So Renault was killed for some reason. So we got to figure out what Hicks is covering up. Why did Hicks kill him? A couple things happen after the wrap up. First thing I think that's noteworthy is both of the chief and the commander, the commander fires Sean, and the chief says that his services are no longer required, and kind of just like leaves him there. And then whenever she addresses Lassiter to tell him what to do, Lassiter then gets excited because the chief just chose him over Sean while the commander was looking, which I think is a very interesting thing to be excited about.
Yeah. He just wanted to look good in front of her.
Sean is kind of hung up on the idea that it was weird that the geologist's office on the Bamford was the only room that was locked.
And now we see Henry.
Yeah,
they have to get back on the boat, and they had to figure out how. So who do they go to see? Henry, because he's got a little boat. They got to get out there somehow.
So Sean tries to trick Henry into getting him to take the boat out, and Henry catches on to this, and he tricks them. They end up coming clean, and when they just ask him to take him out to the oil rig, he says no. Mainly because his boat is a little dinghy, essentially, and isn't designed to go out 3 miles into the water.
Yeah, it's like a small little fishing boat. It's not, big.
All right, so 29 minutes and 22 seconds in, we're back in the chief's office, and the commander has stopped by apologetically, and she says that she did, after what happened with Sean, she did have somebody inspect the crane that was that killed Hicks, and she finds that it was tampered with and that it was murder, and she's kind of come here to sort of repent and kind of make
humbled by it.
Yeah, trying to repair bridges and like fences here.
Yeah. She admits that she was wrong. The chief just doesn't even know what to do with it.
And she shares too.
So now they have teamed up together, these two sisters, to find Sean and find out what else he knows. And they're sneaking around the oil rig, going into the geology lab.
So yeah, we're at 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and the Sean and Gus are back on the Bamford oil rig, and they're checking out and investigating the geology lab.
So they find a locked drawer in the geology lab.
And it's literally one single out of like 10, like a stack of 10 drawers, one locked drawer.
And it has like a transparency in it with with drawing, like, topography kind of stuff.
And Sean recognizes the map as the same one that's hanging inside of the hallway. And it's supposed to identify where the ship is, where the
where the rigs
where
are.
the oil rig is.
Yeah.
And Gus goes and grabs it, and when they lay the transparency over top, it points out something. It's
not matching up.
The Bamford is not in the same place. It's not where they're saying it is. It turns out it's actually on a fault line.
Oh, it's
on
a fault line, which could cause some serious issues.
So what does this mean, though? The geologist must have known about it. So he is making them drill on a fault line. Now, while they're doing this, Ashley, the daughter, the Bamford's daughter, comes in.
Yeah, I think this was all her idea. Oh no, she knows.
So as Sean is kind of telling Ashley everything, she's surprised and shocked. Sean tells her that they're drilling on a fault line, that her father is most likely responsible and hired the geologist to kind of cover it up. And she kind of plays into it. She says that he, is a risk taker and he is willing to
No,
gamble on things if there's oil to be found.
I
So
don't believe it. I think it's her.
Sean is kind of hitting on her too.
Yeah, which I really don't like, but I'm trying to just overlook it. But
She leads
uh-huh,
them to the communications room, and when they go in, it's
yeah,
all dark, and she ends up getting them, to walk in front of her, pulls a gun on them, and then locks them in the room. And it ends
yep,
up also being the the hazardous materials closet.
yep. Toxic fumes.
Gus freaks out. So we follow up that scene with Ashley back on top of the oil rig. She bumps into Chief and the commander, and they have questions for her. So apparently they looked into it some more, and the night that Hicks was murdered on the oil rig, she they have witnesses saying that she was on the boat that came in, but she left her name off of the manifest for the trip. And they're wanting to know
Mhm,
why she wanted to be on the boat, but she didn't want anybody to be able to check on it. Actually, kind of interesting that they're ahead of Sean. Sean didn't know that. All right, so we're at 35 minutes and 40 seconds. And during the questioning of Ashley by the chief and the commander, Carlton, while Ashley's kind of moving around and looking around and whatnot, her jacket kind of comes open a little bit, and Carlton can see the gun that's in her waistband. And Carlton calls out gun, and then he kind of throws himself and kind of does almost like a large bear hug, throwing his body in between Ashley and Juliet, the chief, and the commander. I think,
uh-huh.
let's be honest, the commander. And
Right.
Ashley starts running away. This is breaking protocol. He's not following proto. Okay.
Mhm, mhm. Which is
He
odd for him.
definitely should not have done that. He just let the victim get away and put himself with his back facing towards an armed suspect.
Person, right, right, right.
Yeah, he definitely
Yeah,
should have drew his gun or tackled her.
and he was covering the other cop that could have helped
Exactly.
too.
He
Like,
was
it didn't
in
make
the
any
way.
sense. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it
it
didn't.
was.
It was very out of character for Lassiter.
I
And
have
then
to
yeah.
point it out.
And then why would she just shoot at them? Like, they're following her. Why wouldn't she just keep running? She knows the rig. She could have hid somewhere instead of just shooting at them, like, blankly. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that. Okay, keep going.
But the guys are in the closet and they start hearing gunfire, so they know something's going on. Get this Dutch angle camera shot. Lassie and Jules end up finding them while they're banging on the door of the closet. They have followed Ashley down into this it looks almost like one of those what is it, the steam
Like a
rooms? Not the
boiler
steam
room
room,
kind of a
boiler room.
thing, but
Yes.
it's, where the
There's
machine room,
pipes everywhere,
essentially.
there's
Yeah.
gauges, there's steam shooting out of different spots. It's kind of dark and damp. And we see Ashley kind of hiding in there, but I think the interesting thing here is the character development between the chief and her sister, because they're down there and they're kind of looking around, and she corrects her, and then the chief is like, "Why do you got to correct me all the time?" And she kind of, and the commander, instead of getting aggro, apologizes. She's like, "You know what?
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't do that all the time." So I see, I like it, and this is where I get upset because I don't think we ever see the chief's sister again. And this is one thing that we keep coming across, that it's nice to have, but the character development we get here, I wish would keep going. Why can't we get any of these family members back? I wish
Because
we
it's
could.
not about them, it would have extended the cast by so much. I don't know. I
I'm
don't know.
not
Anyway.
saying as series regulars. I'm talking about every, like once a season, maybe we get something where we see a couple of these, or maybe
Yeah.
even for her sister with it being the chief, maybe the next not the next season, but the season after that, maybe we get another episode with her.
Yeah.
Or even mentioning her, like, I went on a trip with my sister, and last year when we made up, we've gotten along much better, or we started fighting again as soon as we met up again. I just
I
wish
don't
that
know.
the character building between the family members mattered more in the long run,
Fair enough.
especially since they've done pretty good with like guest
And
stars and building the characters.
okay, in this episode, we get at 36 minutes and 50 seconds, Sean and Gus are going down into this room too, and Gus
Everybody's
is
down there
like, "What are
now.
we doing?" And Sean goes, "I have a plan. It's called Gus is a table." This is not the only time we hear this. He says it was their signature prank in the 7th grade.
Wow. There's a lot of gunfire going on.
How many shots does she have in that
On
gun?
an oil rig. I didn't even
I
notice that
know.
until now.
It's not safe.
Yeah, it seems like this would be much more
There's a
dangerous.
lot that could explode there. Sean wants Gus to sneak up behind her on all fours, so she'll fall over like she hit a table.
Sean is giving his signal now. He's like, I'm gonna put my cards on the table. Table. He says table like 10 times. And Gus is just not doing it. He's not having it.
He even says Gus is a table, and Gus goes, no, Gus is a statue.
Instead of getting aggressive, Sean attempts talking her down. So all right, so she got the geologist to make a fake map. I'm confused here. So her dad chose to drill here, right? And he didn't know that it was on top of a fault line, correct?
No. So her dad was trying to drill somewhere else. They drew the fake map and put it up in the hallway for where they were, but that's not really where they were. She had him draw the fake map so that they could drill on the fault line without her dad knowing. Her dad doesn't know that they're drilling on the fault line. That was her idea. She's behind all of it. She's trying to save her dad's business and find oil where he couldn't.
The fake map marked where they actually were on top of the fault line. So
No,
yeah.
the fake map was in the hallway showing where they were, but that's not really where they were. The real map was on the
I'm
transparency
sorry.
that
When
they
I say the
found.
fake map, I meant the transparency, the clear one.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the transparency map marked where they actually were, which was on top of the fault
Which was
line.
on top
The
of the
fake
fault
map
line.
in the hallway where everybody else thought they were was
Right.
not.
Exactly. So only
So
they knew where they really were. Only
so
her
what
and the
happened here? So her dad has nothing to do with it. Yeah, but like, what did she do? What's the plan?
So she knew that her dad wasn't finding oil where they were drilling. And her, having something to prove because her dad treats her like a receptionist meant that she had to take things into her own hands. So that's where she got the geologist to come in. They drew the fake map and drilled over the fault line to find the oil instead of where her dad really wanted to drill. So he didn't know where they really were drilling. He thought
Right,
it was
but what
on
does
the
she gain
map.
from them drilling on a fault line?
She was going to find oil there.
But it's a fault line. That's dangerous.
She didn't care as long as she found oil. She needed to show her dad that she could do it.
Okay, so she thinks there's oil in the fault line for some reason.
She thinks that there's oil in that area, I guess, based on what the geologists and her came up with. I don't know. Keep playing.
Okay, all right. So I think I understand. So she thinks that she did homework and found a place where there might be fuel that other people haven't
Right.
gone because there's a fault line
It's a
there.
fault line.
But she's
Right.
got like the balls to do it.
Right. And she's
Okay.
got something to prove.
Okay. All right. I thought that she was drilling into the fault line on purpose for some reason to like destroy
No, she
it or
just wanted
something.
oil.
Okay. All right. I understand now.
And Sean talks her into giving him the gun, and then Lassie tackles her.
As soon as Jules comes over to help, the
Ah!
first thing Lassiter asks is, "Did Barbara see that?" The commander. And then he's like poses down there. Barbara does not look like she's giving him the time of day. So we're about 40 minutes in now, and it's towards the end of the episode. After our little wrap up here, where Sean and Gus are saying, and I got a little confused with this one, so correct me if I'm wrong, Barb. Ashley wanted to find oil where her father couldn't, and so
Mhm.
that she could be treated respectfully as a businesswoman or like an oil tycoon, because her father kind of looks down on her because she's a female.
Well, and
And
also because her dad had not been doing well lately, like, she wanted to save the business.
yeah, almost wanting to like front him a little bit, or
Right.
like in a good way, like show him, like help him.
Yeah, show him
Kind of
that
like
she
how
was
the Daredevil
capable.
was in the other one, like show him that he was
Mhm.
capable of following in the footsteps.
Right.
So she hired the geologist, and apparently they found an area where there might be some oil, but it is also right next to a fault line, and it would be very dangerous to drill into the fault line. So they have to be
Right.
very careful when they're drilling there.
They made a fake map, so no one else but the 2 of them would know that they were
Right.
over top of this
The
fault line.
transparency.
Right.
Mhm. So as soon as Renault found out about this, Renault was the one who helped her make the fake map.
As
Didn't they
soon
say
as
that Renault
Hicks
was the
found
one
out about
sending?
it Hicks found
But
out
Hicks
about it.
killed Renault. Yeah, because Ashley's the one who killed
Okay,
Hicks.
hold on.
I'm so confused.
The only 3 people who knew, like, okay, but she killed Hicks because Hicks was the one who,
The safety guy.
right.
He knew about it.
Hicks knew about what was going on. Renault knew about what was going on. They ended up, oh my God. This is why I didn't like this episode.
But I'm confused. This doesn't quite make sense to me. Maybe I forgot something. Let's talk this through for a second.
Okay, I think this is what I didn't like about this episode. Okay.
The case doesn't quite make sense if I'm remembering. So we have 4 players in this game right now. We have Ashley, the mastermind behind this. We
Right.
have Renault, who is the geologist that was hired by Ashley to help make the map, the fake map,
Right.
who was killed by Hicks with the hammer.
Right. And Hicks
And
was
Hicks
killed
was
by
killed by Ashley with the crane.
So maybe,
But
okay, so
why?
Renault, okay, so here we go. So Renault knew what was going on.
Was he playing both sides? Like, was he
Maybe
like, yes, like Ashley hired
I
him
think
to
he
kill
didn't
to
like
make the
what
fake
she
map?
was I think he didn't like what she was having him do. So he was telling Hicks something's going on here that's not safe. It's not safe.
Okay, so he was trying to play
But Hicks
undercover, like
knew about it
Splinter
too.
Cell.
Like,
Like,
I don't know, there is a little confusing.
I'm very confused. All right,
Okay,
listeners, if any of
essentially
you can give us a good wrap up for this, I would love to hear it because I'm very confused by this
well,
case.
essentially, Ashley was the mastermind behind it all, and the other people who knew about it ended up dead. Let's just call it that, and
Yeah, but I
end it
still
there.
don't know where
Now
Renault
we're
stands on
back
this, and
in.
why did Hicks kill him? I'm so confused.
Uh, Hicks killed him because I don't know. I don't know. I don't like this episode. All right, let's just finish the wrap up. So we're done
Oh
with the
god.
case. We're back at the station. Sean and Gus are giving the chief a gift basket. She
Sorry guys,
essentially
no wrap up this
says,
time.
um, she essentially says, "Hey, here's there's no need. I should be apologizing to you." And then the chief or the commander comes in.
I'm
Keep
embarrassed,
playing
but
it.
at the same
I
time,
know,
I'm
like
super entertained.
I just can't. I just can't with this episode. I'm what I'm trying to do is get to the point where we talk about what we think about the episode. So let's go ahead and finish wrapping up.
Oh god.
What happens here? So the commander comes in. Oh, and we hear that the commander is thinking about asking out Detective Lassiter. Ooh, ooh. After she makes plans with Karen to go to lunch. I like how the chief tells her, "Don't do that." He's wound up, and the commander immediately goes to, like, that the chief wants him all for herself.
Wow.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, the fight between them has gotten bad. She really thinks that the commander really thinks that the chief wants Lassie all to her own. But
Like a competitive
the
again.
chief is
Yeah.
like "Go, ask him out. Go ahead. Go ahead."
And she
So
does.
she
Lassie's
does.
walking away and just drops everything he's doing as soon as she says it.
Yeah. Well,
Which
she
I
kinda
think is
bosses him to do it, like, she kinda, yeah,
interesting.
orders him.
I can see it though.
And that's where we end things. All right, let's talk about our thoughts for this episode. Do you wanna go first, or do you want me to?
I can go first. I guess start with the things that I liked. I liked Sylvester. Not Sylvester. What's her name?
Jane Lynch?
Jane Lynch. She played Sylvester in like some other movie, I think. But
Wasn't
I
she
liked Jane
was
Lynch.
that her coach name in Glee or something?
Maybe.
I don't
I think so. I think
I didn't watch
Sylvester.
it.
I don't know. That's just what I see
I
here.
think that was her coach name in Glee, but I'll
Okay.
Google it while you're talking.
I like her in the casting. I think she looks similar to the chief, and I think
Mhm.
that they have a good like dynamic and chemistry on screen.
Okay.
The chief especially, I think, killed it in like sister
Mhm.
mode. It just like her anger and rage seemed so legitimate for like that type of relationship. I loved it, and I think that this was like a standout moment for the chief in particular. I think so far. The other big episode she had was I think the one we didn't like that much, which was the red balloon or the nanny one.
The nanny
Rabba
one.
by Baby. That's it.
Yeah.
She was on screen a lot in that one, and I wasn't a fan of that topic, but I actually think she did pretty good in that one too, being like the tired mother.
You're right, by the way,
So she did good.
Sue Sylvester was her name on Glee.
Oh, okay. So that's where I remember from. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, that show is kind of crazy, but no, back on topic. That was a weird show. If you watch it now
I didn't. I yeah.
in 2021, it's a little nutty. Yeah. So this episode, I liked her. I thought the case was atrocious. Honestly, it made me laugh really hard though, trying to figure out what was going on. That kind of adds to it for me, just because even though it shouldn't, it did make me enjoy the episode even more, just trying to figure out what was happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
I liked the guest stars that we had, although I guess at the time, at least for me, at the time it came out, that guy wasn't a guest star until the ranch. I hadn't seen him in anything until the ranch. So
Oh my god, he's
um,
done so many things.
I still feel like I've seen her before. I could have sworn that she was in Stargate, but you know, I could have sworn she was a Goa'uld
Are
in
you talking about his
Stargate.
daughter? No, no,
Yeah,
okay, well,
yeah, I could have
mm,
sworn she was a
okay.
Goa'uld.
Mm.
Who am I thinking about? She played Hathor, I swear. Who? All right, I gotta look this
I
up
don't
later.
know, but let's go back to the episode and tell me.
Okay, yes. Back to Psych. There was a lot of good moments in here. We got all of the check marks. We got Gus don't be a. We didn't get a Lassiter looks like a, but we did also get the pineapple. We got a Gus
And we got a Gus
nickname,
nickname?
and these are all key elements of the show. We got them all in there. We got a lot of funny little jokes and little play between them. We didn't mention all of them, but there was a bit of Sean and Gus having a good time. We got the super sniffer in there.
Yes.
And I mean the trail of breadcrumbs was pretty good, putting aside the fact that I don't really understand the plot. But overall I liked it. I think for my pineapple rating, I think that I'm going to give it 3 pineapples.
Wow, okay.
I feel like you're probably not gonna be as
Don't just
gracious with
don't
it,
try to predict
but
my pineapple rating.
7 I feel like I enjoyed it a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. Barb, what do you think about this episode?
I agree with you that Jane Lynch was a good fit as the chief's sister.
Okay. I
That
wasn't
just
expecting that.
wasn't enough to make me like the episode very much. I thought that it was very case heavy, and for me, if you're gonna do a case heavy episode, make the case a good one, not one where, like, we're, like, going back and forth just trying to figure out exactly what was happening. Listen, I don't know, we could come off looking like complete idiots that we weren't following this as well as we should have,
Mhm.
but I really just didn't. Maybe the problem lies in the fact that it didn't interest me enough to want to follow it that well. That might be the core problem here. Not that I
No,
was
because I was kind of
unable to
interested.
follow it, but I wasn't interested in it. And
Well, I
so
was
I
interested, and I don't
mm,
think that was it. I don't think that
I
was it. I couldn't
wasn't.
follow it either.
This one just did not do it for me. I think there's like a nostalgia thing that goes along with Psych for me in terms of like the references and the themes that they choose and stuff like this. This one did not um sit with me. Like it wasn't something that created any kind of nostalgic feeling at all. And so I didn't I don't know. I feel like I didn't want to work that hard at figuring out the case because the case didn't pull me in. It just didn't pull me in. So, as far as the stars of it go, you know what? She did a fine job. Jane Lynch, by the way, busy woman. She's got 231 acting credits. She's been in like everything. She's got tons and tons and tons of roles in very popular stuff. So bravo to her. She's doing something right. It's just not like I don't know. I really don't know what it is that she's so gruff or something that it comes off as very like authoritative in everything I've seen her in, and it's very one-dimensional to me. So I could be very wrong. Maybe I just haven't seen her in the right thing. I will own that she's probably done other things and I just haven't given them a shot. So anyway, I didn't love the case, especially if it was a case heavy episode. I didn't love the case. I thought it was a cute thing about Lassie liking her. That was kind of fun. There were some very funny moments in this episode. There were episodes where I laughed a lot, as you guys can hear, but it just wasn't my favorite episode. I'm going to generously give it 2 pineapples. That's generous. This is not my favorite episode. Didn't love it at all. Not a lot of Henry.
Wow.
I like more Henry in an episode. We didn't have any McNabb. We didn't know. It just was not. There wasn't any good Jules and Sean information. There was like no. It just wasn't a fun episode. And maybe because too, I identify so well with that whole sibling rivalry thing. And let me also just say, Wendy and I get along great too. But at the same time, there's that competitiveness, and it's not an enjoyable thing to me. Like, it's stressful. And so it like brings that up to me. I don't know. It's not my favorite episode. So I'm giving it a generous 2 pineapples.
Okay. You know what? That's what I was expecting. I
Okay.
feel like you didn't quite enjoy it as much as me, so I get that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
this is
do
not
feel
one
like
I'm
it's
watching on
very
replay.
heavily based on your thoughts of, you know, Jane Lynch, which I don't
I
know. I
don't
feel
think
like
it
we're getting
I
into
don't
Mira
think that.
territory
No,
again. Something about Mira, and
no,
you just
no, no,
really don't like
no.
the girl.
No, I feel like it was a combination of all the things I talked about. This is not solely about the guest star. This is about the case itself. It is about the sibling rivalry. It is about like there are so many elements that I don't like. She's just one small part of it. Is her tone. It's her tone in everything I've seen her in that I just don't
Okay.
care for. So it's like a mixture of all of those things. It's just not my favorite episode.
All right.
Not at all.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I get that, I
One,
guess.
two. 2 pineapples.
All right. Well, let's move on to our next segment, our notable points, starting
Okay.
with an all yeah moment. For those of you who might be new, all yeah moments are something that we really loved that happened in this episode. Like our oh yeah reference
For
from later in the show.
for me, the yeah moment would have to be when Sean sort of talks Ashley down and gets the gun from her.
That is a very good one.
He did a
That's a
good
good
job
one.
of that. It was impressive.
I think not to take the same one as you, I'm gonna go with that one I think is definitely the strongest one.
Mhm.
Especially in this episode, because he really like kind of got like close with her about it. But secondary, I think I'm gonna go with when they make up at the end. Um, Whenever they get like the basket and they helped the chief
Mhm.
kind of reunite with their sister, which is kind of an accumulation of talking to the commander some later in the episode, or whenever they sat down with the chief in her office and kind of had like a heart to heart with her. Like it kind of built up from those moments, but
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go with that one.
All right.
Uh, Up next, we got our "Come On, Son," which is something we all didn't love that happened in the episode.
Mhm. How
Come on,
about
son.
how about the commander hiring them and telling them not to do anything and using them as
Yeah,
a pawn? Come on,
that's
son.
rough. That's
No.
rough.
Just no.
Again, I think that's probably the strongest one, but I'm gonna go with at the end whenever they had this nice moment and it looked like things were turning up, and then they started fighting again over Lassiter.
Don't you get though that that's what they really wanted anyway? They
Mhm.
liked that. That's how they existed. It's
Yeah,
what they knew.
I
Their
get it.
relationship was toxic and it's what they lived in. Yeah.
Up next are wait for it. When something happens that we want to find out more about in the future.
There was nothing in this episode that
Yeah.
I wanna find anything else about. So
I
I
mean,
don't have
maybe
one.
if maybe earlier in the episode, if the relationship with between the sisters gets better, um, I mean, I guess you could say also the
I
end of the
gotta be
episode, will
honest,
it
I don't
get better in
really
the future? But I don't think we ever see her again, so
if
it
I'm
doesn't really
honest,
matter.
I don't really care. It did not pull me in. It
I
did
liked
not
seeing
pull
this
me
side
in.
of the chief, but,
Ugh,
I get that too.
she's
Did we get any
authoritative in
Henry
many
lessons?
No. No, there wasn't
Yeah, I don't
enough
think so.
Henry
Yeah,
in
they
this
stole his
episode.
boat and that was it, or they tried to steal his boat, but
There wasn't
yeah.
any no. There's n mm-mm,
Alright, and, we
no.
did find a pineapple this episode. We did find
Pineapple
one,
pizza! Woo!
at 21:29 was the pineapple pizza when they were crawling into Hicks's house.
Mhm. See, it was so memorable. It was so memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, we had silly nickname for Gus.
Yes, we did.
Mhm.
It was Myopic Chihuahua.
No, no, that's Gus Don't Be-a. That was a
Yeah.
Gus Don't Be-a. This
Oh,
one
wait.
was a, like,
Oh,
a mu
Chesterfield McMillan. Yep.
Chesterfield McMillan. Do you have a favorite quote from the episode?
Probably, "Ashley, can you show us to the chuck wagon, please?" When he called it the chuck wagon, I kinda like that.
Oh, yeah, I'll go with that.
I
I'll
think
go
that's
with
something I
that.
might say in the future if I ever am looking for a cafeteria just to reference the show. You know,
Yeah.
"Can you show me to the chuck wagon?" You know?
That's really the only line that stood out. Anyway. Alright. You ready for the pop culture references, Matt?
I wonder, is chuck wagon a pop culture reference?
Well, it's funny you ask that, Matt. The chuck wagon is a type of field kitchen covered wagon historically used for the storage and transportation of food and cooking equipment on the prairies of the United States and Canada. Such wagons formed part of a wagon train of settlers or the traveling workers, such as cowboys or loggers. So it was where all the food and everything was kept. There was literally a covered wagon that held it all. Let's go on with the others. Clampett. This is who Sean referenced in the beginning. Clampett is a reference to the Beverly Hillbillies, which was a sitcom that it was in black and white. I mean, that's how old it is. It ran from 1962 to 1971, which was actually a long time for a show to run back then. It was a sitcom about a family of hillbillies that find oil on their land, become rich, and move to Beverly Hills. They called the swimming pools the cement ponds. It was, I don't know. Anyway, kind of funny. They used a rope to tie a belt. It was just a rope. It was a funny show. Okay, There Will Be Blood is a reference from the title of this show, There Might Be Blood. There Will Be Blood was a movie from 2007 about an oil and a family in the early days of the oil business. It starred Daniel Day-Lewis. It was in from 2007. A Night Shift was referenced. 1982 movie starring Henry Winkler, who was also referenced, and Michael Keaton about morgue workers that start a prostitution ring. Craig T. Nelson, and we also know Henry Winkler. He's famous for being the Fonz on Happy Days. Craig T. Nelson is an actor whose career started in 1970. He's been in tons of 80s TV shows, had his own show called Coach that ran for years. He is also the voice of Mr. Incredible in the Incredibles movies. He played the dad on the TV series Parenthood and many other great roles. Tons and tons of 80s TV shows and movies. He's still acting. Most recently, you would have seen him as the coach in Young Sheldon. The Brady Bunches referenced that was a TV sitcom that ran from 1969 to 1974. It has had many, many parodies and movies done about it. Still iconic TV to this day. Jan, who was referenced, was played by Eve Plum. She was the middle sister who infamously had trouble being the middle sister. Stop Hammer Time was a very famous line from the song Can't Touch This, which was a 1989 hit by MC Hammer. Dr. Dre is referenced. He's a famous rapper and producer since 1985. Discovered Eminem, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Pepper is a soft drink that was introduced by the Coca-Cola Company in 1855, famous for its combination of 23 flavors. Dr. No is a Bond movie from 1962 starring the great Sean Connery. And Entertainment Weekly is a magazine that started in February of 1990. It's a monthly magazine about film, TV, music, Broadway theater, books, and pop culture. And there you have it, Matt. I think I got them all.
I think so.
Yeah. There were only 10 this time. Wasn't too many.
Yeah, no,
And
it wasn't too bad. But
and none were very
lastly,
exciting. None were very exciting. This episode wasn't exciting.
but
Okay. Lastly, what do we have?
well, we did cover this time. We had a fan comment about how we didn't get the name of the episode in. We covered that this time.
We did.
So
We did.
check that off the list.
Okay. Okay.
So how does the episode for you hold up over time, Barb?
Well, I don't know that I saw a lot of things that really didn't add up. I would think that there would probably be more like geologically and the technology involved in that I think might be a little different
Somebody would
now.
have found their coordinates, I think, just with an iPhone
Exactly.
even would have been it might have
GPS
been off.
would make it a lot easier to discover what they were doing.
There honestly might even be in the software that they use, there might even be electronic alarms that go off if you are in a location
Yeah.
that is not safe to be in.
And
There might be
certainly the
overrides for that.
Coast Guard would have been able to know that.
Yeah.
Even without the technology that we have today, I would think that the Coast Guard would have been able to identify
Because
where
I
that thing
think
was.
I feel like you almost have to register your location beforehand. Although if you're off the coast,
Yeah.
if you're too far off the coast, it becomes like international waters. But I think you have to notify the Coast Guard of where you're at, and then somebody would have
Well,
to
but even
confirm
the
that.
Coast Guard
So
traveling to that area would have been able to see where they were, you know?
yeah, but if it's a couple miles off, like if it's a couple miles off, they might not be able to tell visually. But I would imagine if they were like reserving or renting that space, or if anything, just stating that we're here, they would have someone out there check it. I don't know. Now we're kind of just poking holes in it, but
It just seems like there would be regulations in place that would prevent someone from drilling there. But again,
Mhm.
I don't really know a lot about that subject, but otherwise I think it held up fine in terms of like technology and story and all that. I don't really think I think that's the only thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I could see it. Yeah.
Mhm. Otherwise, I think everything was pretty timeless.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
on the next episode, we are discussing season 3, episode 7, Talk Derby to Me, which I know we're both very
Oh,
excited for. I think you even more than
yes.
me,
Even though roller derby's never been, like, something I'm too excited about. I'm excited
but
about the
that's not what
character.
you're excited
The
about.
cha the character does stuff that happens is
Although
good.
I do think we get some good Henry moments next episode too.
I love Henry moments. Please check us out on our Facebook group and subreddit, and you'll find all those links below.
And lastly, you can always just email us directly through our Gmail. It's thepsychpodcast@gmail.com. Questions, theories, if you just have any nice words about the show, if there's anything that you want us to discuss on a future episode, even if it's a couple episodes down the road, we'll pin it if there's any questions or theories you have about that too. So just give
Definitely,
us a heads up, and we'll
and
read it on the episode.
yeah, I was gonna say that's what we could do is if you have comments about future episodes that you know are coming up, and maybe we could list a couple of them that are coming up. Here, let me pull it up here. And we'll list a couple that are coming up, and if they're your favorites or anything like that, if you want to send us some questions or comments or anything like that about the episode, we'll read it on that episode and address it. What do we have coming up, Matt?
So episode 7 was Talk Derby to Me. Episode 8 is going to be Gus walks into a bank.
Oh, I love that one.
Episode 9, are you sure? I don't think you remember all the details of that one.
I like that one. That one has Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off in it. I love that episode. I like that episode. Oh, yeah, there's something about that episode I'm not
Okay.
gonna like.
There
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I was
Gary
beginning to
Cole. I
doubt
get
myself. I
it.
was like, wait, is that not the same episode?
I
Yeah,
get
that's
it.
the
I
same.
like
Okay.
the story of that episode though.
Okay.
That like the case. I like the case. Got it.
But we have Christmas Joy for episode 9,
Mhm.
6 Feet Under the Sea. Lassie did a bad thing. Earth, Wind, and wait for it, Any Given Friday Night at 10 p.m., 9 p.m. Central. Truer Lies, Tuesday the 17th, which that one's going to be awesome.
Mhm.
And lastly, episode 16 of season 3, An Evening with Mr. Yang. So
Nice.
we've got quite the lineup. I don't remember
Mhm.
every one of these, but there's enough on there that I do remember that we're going to have some really good episodes coming up. So,
Yeah, I think so too. So please, please, please send us some comments about these episodes because that would be really fun to have your questions and stuff
mhm,
before the episode so that
yeah,
we can read them when
something
we
new
record
to
it.
try.
So yeah, send them to us. Again, it's the psychpodcast@gmail.com.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Thanks for listening through. Don't forget to share it with your friends and have a good night.
Yeah. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Bye.